So today we're going to show you how to exhibit your plant science projects at the fair. So we're going to show you how you can get that purple ribbon and take it on to the state fair. So our first tip is to read your fair book. So I know these books are long and have a lot of information, but really reading through them will ensure that you know what you're doing and that you bring the right amount of produce and you just ensure a quality specimen.
Right, and when you're going to pick out your produce that you've grown over the summer and the spring, you first want to be looking for really mature plants, or it's better to pick something that's a little bit not quite ripe yet instead of over mature and starting to rot. So just keep that in mind when you're going to look for something in your garden to exhibit at the fair. So one really great resource if you need more guidelines for exhibiting fruits and vegetables is this Exhibiting Fruits and Vegetables manual that you can pick up at your extension office or get online from K-State Research and Extension. It has details of how many plants you want to have for each exhibit, and then has a little bit of details about each crop that you would be picking. So we're going to go through a few of the most common exhibits that we see at the fairs right now. I think Cassie's going to start with green beans.
For green beans and other smaller produce, you want to have 12 on the plate. And again, for how many numbers of produce you need, look in your fair book or in the manual. But you want 12 green beans, and you want to look for a mature specimen, the seed pod about half filled. You want them to be crisp, so if you snapped it, it would snap really nicely. A few other tips for the stem, you want about 1/4 of stem, so if it's a little bit long, go ahead and clip that off to about 1/4 of an inch. And you just want them to be really uniform in size. And I know that's a little tricky when you have 12 on a plate, but get them as best as possible about the same length and the same maturity.
Another exhibit we have is our zucchini. So this is a yellow zucchini. Something that we look for is that there's still a stem. This one is a little bit shriveled up, so we would probably want it to be a little bit more tough, but you want 1/2 to 1 inch of the stem left instead of it being cut flush off. You also want to check how tough the zucchini is, so a good trick is just poking your finger in at the end. You don't want it to be so hard and mature that you can't poke and at the end, and if you do it at the end, you're not really like making a blemish all over. This zucchini does have some blemishes on there. It's not completely uniform in color and shape.
So another really popular entry we see at the fairs are potatoes. And what we're looking for again is uniformity. We want 5 potatoes that are same size, same shape, same color. So these are pretty good. We have a few differences, but if we had one that looked a little bit like this, you can tell right away that it would not fit in with the rest. So just pull things like this out. Another thing we don't want is sometimes potatoes will get scabs or blemishes on them. So if you have any potatoes like that, don't bring them to the fair. Another trick is make sure you clean them well. So when we pull up our potatoes, a lot of times they'll have dirt on them and grime, so just clean them off really well. You can use a brush or just a paper towel to make sure they look really clean and pretty, because the judge wants to see really nice looking potatoes that he would want to buy at a grocery store. So these 5 look pretty good. I'm not sure they'd be purple ribbon, but make sure they are really uniform. Cherry tomatoes are another really common produce that we see at a lot of fairs during the summer. They grow like crazy. So again, we want 5 that look a lot alike, same in shape and color. And then another tip is to exhibit them with the stem end down. So that helps them to kind of not roll around on the plate. They'll kind of stay put. And another thing why you want to do that is because you'll remove them from the stem. So you don't want any stem left on your tomato. And then we kind of think of that because if you were harvesting a bunch of tomatoes and putting them in a big bowl, the stem might poke into other tomatoes. So just make sure you have no stem left when you're putting them on your plate to exhibit.
This would actually be a pretty good example of what would most likely be a purple at fair. They're really uniform in size, shape, and color. Another thing that judges check right off the bat is that you have the right number on the plate. So for cherry tomatoes, we want 5, which is right there, but remember, like our green beans, we needed 12. So that's just a good comparison. And all of your vegetables need exhibited on a white plate, but you can kind of pick a plate that matches the size of what you're exhibiting. So for our tomatoes, we used a smaller size than what we had for our bigger zucchini. And one other tip we wanted to share with you is this is a helpful little card of what a judge might use for judging your exhibits. It's showing uniformity, market quality, true to type, so you're exhibiting the right type of vegetable that you marked down on your card, and then fair prep. So you took that time to take the stems off and make sure it was all cleaned up before you brought it to fair.
So if you've never exhibited produce at a fair, it's a really fun project to try. All you have to do is enroll in plant science for 4-H, and it's fun. Every year is a little bit different. Gardening in Kansas can be a little bit tricky, but each year you'll grow your skills and you'll learn a little bit more. It's also really nice to interact with your judge and learn from them, hear what you might have done a little bit wrong or what went well in your garden. It's also really great just to eat produce that you grew yourself instead of going to a grocery store and buying it. So it's a very rewarding project, and if you've never tried it and you need some help, stop by your local extension office and we'll be happy to help you.